And if the bond is issued at a premium, what that means is that the contract rate is higher than the market rate. Okay? You understand? The contract rate is higher than the market rate. Okay? So the premium on this bond would be in the favor of the bondee. I know it's hard to understand. Because when you guys think about premiums, like for example, insurance premiums, the premium, it's like you guys are going to be paying extra. That's what it means to pay premium. You know, when you guys think about premium, um, and like when you guys think about like, oh, I'm getting a discount. You know, I'm getting a discount on this, and I'm paying less money. Is what it means. Like when you guys think about a discount, you guys think like it's gonna be you paying less money. But when the market rate is higher than the contract rate, and these bonds are issued out at a discount, it actually means that the person the the bond holder, the holder of the bond, is actually getting a discount. Actually, like the bondholder gets a discount if the market rate of the bond is higher than the contract rate. So you guys have to sort of take yourselves out of the equation, as in like your personal views of like how like you guys see this, and you have to sort of put yourselves in the shoes of like a business, um, because a lot of these things can get confusing when you guys think about it in like personal finance. Like when you in within like context of like personal finance, within the context of like personal things, like you'd be like, oh, you know, investment, finance, like an investing activity, like a cash flow investing activity. If you guys thought about that within the context of like personal finance, it would be like you investing into like a stock, for example. You know, uh, and then like financing, like a financing activity would be something like you financing a car, or you could finance a mortgage, for example. You know, you guys could finance a mortgage. Like in the context of personal finance, when you guys think about financing, you guys think like about like financing a vehicle or financing like a mortgage. But actually, when it comes to like the cash flow statement, okay, the cash flow statement, the statement of cash flow, when you create these documents, the investing activity is actually going to be things related to long term assets. I know. Like, as in, like, these companies have invested in these long-term assets. Okay. Um, so, like, long-term assets versus current assets. Current assets would be used in operating activities. Okay. But, like, if it's a long-term asset, right, then it would be something that's being used for longer than a year. So it would be considered to be an investment in which it would be used for more than a year. So those are types of things that you would see in investing activity for a company rather than investing in stocks. Although stocks could be like a type of investment that a company does. But when it comes to financing activity, for a company that's creating like a cash flow statement, the financing activity isn't this company like financing a car or financing a mortgage. Rather, it's the company issuing stock. You know, the company issuing stocks to raise funds, really, because that's like one of the ways that a company not really borrow money, but how the company raises money is by issuing stocks, common and preferred stocks. Uh, so like that would be the financing activity for the company. It wouldn't be related to like financing assets. So like likewise within this context, like when it comes to like discounts or premiums on bonds, like a bond that's discounted, like if the market rate is higher than the contract rate and this bond has been issued out at a premium, this it's been issued out at a discount, the discount actually is on the side of the bond holder. As in like if because like the contract rate is at 6%, but the market rate is above that par at 8%. Somewhere out there in the market, there's um, it seems like there's like a hard time to find um, a lender that would lend it at 8%. So then the bond holder or the bank that lends this money would be able to issue this bond out at a discount to the bondee. So the bondee would receive less money for the same amount of face value of the bond, as well as pay the same amount of interest for the face value, as well as the discount on the bond payable. You guys understand? The discount isn't actually a discount on the face value of the bond. The discount is actually the amount of cash that wasn't received, um, that the bank sort of like has. They didn't issue out the full amount and they actually had a discount amount on the bond because the market rate of the bond was higher than the contract rate. Okay? But if the market rate is less than the contract rate, okay? So let's just say that the contract rate is at 6%, is at 8%. No, let's say it's at 6%. Okay? Let's say the contract rate is 6%. And then the market rate is at 4%. Okay? So if the contract rate is higher than the market rate, that means that there's going to be a premium on this bond. As in, like, the bank will pay a premium. Not that the bondee, the person that took out the bond, will pay a premium, but the bank will actually pay a premium to give out this bond. Because, like, for example, this money that's being lended has a very high chance of it being paid back. So the market rate is saying that this bond can be accepted with less interest. So then the bank, the lender, will have to pay a premium to lend this money for this bond to be issued. So it's a premium on the bond. So let's say that the face value remains the same at 100,000. Okay, the face value remains the same. The rate 6%. The time, it's a 45-day bond. Okay. So the interest on this will actually remain the same, right? 45 divided by 360 times 6% times 100,000. So the interest on this bond will remain the same, $750. Okay. But because this bond was issued out at a premium, right? So, like, let's first calculate this cash flow, right? The period, okay? The period, the issue price, the period rate, the discount, or excuse me, the premium. So what's the total cash flow of this? Well, it will be the face value plus the interest. So the cash flow is going to be 100,750. That's the cash flow. The period, the market rate times time. So that'll be 4% times 45 divided by 360. The period rate is 0.005. The issue price, which is going to be the cash flow divided by 1 plus the period rate, okay? Issue price will be 100,248,076 cents. Okay? So let's calculate the premium. You know? Premium, the face value minus the issue price. The premium on this bond, $248.76. That's the premium. Okay, so if you guys were gonna write this in a journal entry, January 1st, 2001, when the bond was issued, cash which was received. The full amount was received of 100,000, right? And then the premium on bonds, $248.76. And then the bonds payable, 100,000. Okay. Let's see what happens to bonds. Premium on bonds payable. So the bonds interest expense, let's say at the end of that, on February 15th, well, this will remain the same, the bond interest payment, but oh, okay. So like the total cash that was received, 100,048.76. This will be credited. Okay. So if that was credited, I suppose that would mean that it would also be debited in bonds interest payment. I suppose it would be like this. Bonds interest expense. Discount on bonds. Premium on bonds. Premium on bonds. Discount. So this here most likely actually credited. Bonds interest expense. Oh, there's amortization, which is what we're doing right now. Interest expense, bonds interest expense. I suppose it's actually like this. Bond interest expense of 750. The premium. Bond payable. So 248.76. 750 minus 248.76. 501.24. Cash that was paid. So the bond it comes out of the bond interest expense. Okay. Because like the bond interest expense of 750 is still there, but it's being issued out at a premium. So then that means there's going to be less interest being paid because of the premium. Really? That is a credit. Advance payable. Interest expense. Premium advance payable. Oh, okay. And then the bonds payable. The bonds payable still remains 100,000. So suppose you just still need $100 of cash. Is this balance? It looks really close to being balanced. I would say this is in balance. This is in balance. Yeah, this is balanced.